Sammarco is here, founders of Daughters Defending Democracy. Nice to see you. Welcome to the program for the first time.
Yes,
you think we're fair to point out that there's a double standard between Republican and Democrat peaceful protesters?
I don't really think that you can compare the two because they are totally different instances about completely different issues as well. And I personally am all for people having their voices be heard, but I don't think anyone should be immune to the consequences of that. So I, of course, have empathy for the father that was at the State of the Union last night, he's grieving his son, the loss of his son over tragic circumstances. Right. But I don't think that...
So when we look at the video, right, I mean, just in terms of law breaking, blocking streets in D.C. is a crime, especially if police tell you to move on. Trying to break into the White House is certainly a crime, right? Mm-hmm. So when Republicans look at somebody wearing a suit shouting and he gets arrested, and then people who, to you point out, are protesting have a different message, but it's a largely Democratic progressive message, they don't get arrested. How do you explain that to them?
I mean, I think that they, for the most part, were peaceful protesters. I think there was one arrest, and that was someone who was revving their engine in their car and threatening the crowd. But yeah, for the most part, I felt as though they were just making their voices heard in the way that they know how. And I mean, when it comes to blocking traffic and
what about trying to break into the White House?
I mean, look, obviously that is
not good. Not good. Okay, I guess we can agree on that. You think President Biden? I think you pointed out rightly that the man who was screaming Abbey Gate, which is where his son was murdered by a suicide bomber in Afghanistan. You think President Biden should pardon him?
You know, if that is President Biden's prerogative to do that, then he can go ahead and do that. But I don't think that I'm in the position to
give the president advice.
Yeah.
Well, I'll put it this way. That makes you a different kind of TV pundit, because very rarely is anyone not willing to give the president advice. Last night, there was a lot of outbursts, right, during the State of the Union. One of them was from Marjorie Taylor Greene, yelling at President Biden to say the name of a nursing student, 22 years old, who was allegedly killed by an illegal immigrant. Take a listen.
Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of the thousands of people being killed by illegals? To her parents, I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself. I understand.
What do you make of President Biden going off script there?
I mean, that's what he does. He goes off script and he says what he truly believes in. And I thought it was good for him to mention Lincoln Riley's name, because we should talk about her, and what happened to her was absolutely tragic. But as for Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't think that's appropriate conduct for the House, but she's not one to abide really by
decorum has never been her strong suit.
Yeah.
I think we can agree on that. Hey, it was good to see you. Thank you. We follow you on Twitter. We'll continue to do so. Appreciate you coming in. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.